PSLE is coming. Can you solve this 2017 PSLE Math question? And the question goes, Jess needs 200 pieces of ribbon, each of length 110 centimeters, to decorate the room for a party. Ribbon is sold in rolls of 25 meters each. What is the least number of rolls of ribbon that Jess needs to buy? So you need to find the least number of rolls. And from the question, we see that Jess needs 200 pieces of 110 centimeters from rolls of ribbons of 25 meters each. You're probably thinking, okay, then let me get a total length, which is 200 times 110, and this will give us 220 meters. So this is what we need, right? Then we have the least number of rows, so we can just have 220, which is the total length, divided by each row, which is 25 meters, and this will give us 8 rows, and with the remainder 25. Since we can't have 25 of one row, I mean the remainder of 25 of one row, we have to round up to get 9 rows. So that's the answer, right? Well, you're wrong. That is a very common mistake, and it is a very common tricky question that students get wrong. So this is like saying, if I want 10 centimeters ribbons to be cut, and the rolls of ribbons that is sold are each 25 centimeters, then you might say, oh, then I just need 2 rolls of ribbons, right? Since I can cut 5. But the thing is that you can't cut half, or I would say this is 1/5 of this 25 centimeter roll, because you can't just join half and half to make one whole in this kind of situation. So instead, we need to find how many can be cut by one ribbon that is sold. So one roll of ribbon, in this case, this is the example, which is 25 centimeters. So in this case, we can cut 10 in one row, and then another 10. And then since we are cutting another 10, then you might be thinking, can, right? No, cannot. So this is not allowed. So the other, or the third 10 centimeter ribbon, we can only cut in the new roll of ribbon, in this case over here. And then from here, we can cut another 10 centimeters. And then if you want to cut the fifth one, I think we learned our lesson that we only can cut in a new roll of ribbon over here. So therefore, for 10 centimeter ribbons, you need 3 rows of ribbons. So in this case, how do we do that in terms of math equation? So we want to get the number of ribbons from one row. So since one ribbon that we want to cut is 10 centimeters, we have one row length divided by one cut length, which is 2 in this case over here. So 2 ribbons can be cut in one roll of ribbon. So one row total cut length, which will be number of ribbons from one row times the cut length, which is 20, right? So 10 centimeters will be 20. So since we know that, then the next thing is we can get the number of rows for this example, 5 ribbons, that is 10 centimeters each. So that means the total ribbons length, right, divided by one roll total cut length. So that means the total ribbons length is 5 times 10, which is 50. And then we divide it by 2, which is the roll total cut length, which will give us 2.5. And we need to round up, which will give us 3. So that is the example that hopefully you understand. Now to the actual question. So now let's apply what we learned into the question. So the question says we need 200 pieces of ribbons, which is 110 centimeters, and each roll of ribbon is sold 25 meters each. So first thing is we need to convert the meters into centimeters. So 25 meters will be 2,500 centimeters. Second thing is we need to know the number of ribbons from one row, if you remember. So the total length of one roll is 2,500, and we need to cut 110 centimeters of ribbons. So that means one row can have 22 ribbons. So the thing is, we don't round up, if you remember, because any cut from the ribbon, we need to add into a new roll. So one roll for this can give us 22 ribbons. That is 110 centimeters each. So the next thing is we want to know what is one roll total cut length. So we have 22 ribbons that can be cut from one row. So we just multiply it, right? So number of ribbons from one row multiplies by the cut length, which is 2,420. So if you were to visualize it, it looks something like this. So if we were to cut, right, 22, then each ribbon is 110. So the total cut length is 2,420. And the last thing is to get the number of rows for 200 ribbons, which is 110 centimeters each. So that means we need to get the total ribbons length divided by one roll total card length. So in this case, the total is 200 times 110 divided by 2420, and this will give us 9.09. And since there is a decimal place or remainder, right, then we always have to round up because we always need new rows for the additional cards. So that will be 10.